in-office work or remote work, are we ever even going back into the office?
Um, that's a great question. I mean, the answer is yes. I, we will be going back into the office. Will it be like it was before? No. Like it's going to be different. And to answer that question, the answers will be different depending on the company, depending on the industry, the type of work you're in. I mean, obviously there is essential workers, there's not essential workers. So for that not essential worker, what's the policy going to be for being in the workplace? You're seeing a lot of companies do the right thing and approach this with a learning mindset. So meaning it's going to be hybrid for a while. Work from home part of the time, come into the office if you're ready to come into the office for part of the time. And then I think there's going to be this learning curve to really gauge which employees are ready to come back, which are not. How much time is it going to take? Is our workplace set up and ready to handle this return to the workplace? So I think there's a whole lot of variables that go into answering that question.
And I think a lot of us have even forgot what an office looks like or what it's supposed to be like. So from your perspective and your expertise, how would you describe the differences between like an ideal office in 2019 versus an ideal office in 2021?
I think you're going to see, well, the ideal office in 2021 is going to have less people in it, right? The main thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to relieve employee anxiety with going back to the office. Now, there's vaccinations coming out. People are starting to feel a lot more comfortable. You're seeing it out in the world. People are going out a little bit more. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. But now you're in an office workplace for a certain amount of hours over the day. And so how do you create that physical distance in the workplace? It's going to look different, whether it's spaced out desk, whether it's non-reservable desk and people are spread out a little bit more. There's some companies that are sending people to the same place every day that for those employees that will go back to the office every day. There's some that are just setting up neighborhoods and they're setting up capacities within those neighborhoods, within those office floors to say, hey, we can fit 80 people in here. We're going to open it up for 20. And so it gives people, and sharing the fact with the employees that that's what the company is doing. It's relieving that anxiety. It's engaging with the employee to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the situation that they are in for returning to the office.
And one thing we've heard a lot about is health check technology. How does that look in a real life situation? Are we talking someone standing by a door with a temperature gauge on my forehead? How are companies managing that or implementing that?
Yeah, I mean, it can be that it's temperature checks at the door. That temperature check will come in. They will take that temperature. It will activate or deactivate your security badge. It will keep or cancel the reservation that you've made for the workspace for the day. So we are seeing different technologies. The cool thing is these technologies are being tied together. So whether it's a health check at the door or the employee is doing an online health check the night before. So there's a lot of companies that are using technology to engage with the employee to say, hey, are you ready to come back to work? Would you mind answering a few questions? And really getting through some of that, the policy for, that green check mark that employee, one, is ready to come back to work, and two, has sort of passed, whether we call it a health attestation or some type of health check to come back to work. And then once they physically get there, is the company going to take temperatures? Are they going to pass out face masks? Are they going to, have hand sanitizer all over the place? So we are going to see these changes in the workplace. And, is it necessary? Is it not necessary? It's necessary to relieve the employee anxiety for returning to that office. I feel, and you'll see companies, have different opinions on this.
I can also imagine that contact tracing is one of a technology or a process that will play into that as well. I mean, what role do you see that playing as we return to work?
Yeah, that's actually a big deal. Contact tracing is in the role that I'm in. I talk to a lot of customers about returning to the office and what that workplace. We talk about space management and utilization, but the one thing that everyone does bring up is contact tracing. Hey, someone has raised their hand and said, I'm sick and I came into the office yesterday. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's going to happen. And so it's on the onus of the employee to say, okay, Kevin came into the office yesterday and now he's sick. What meetings was he in? Where did he sit? Where did he go in the office? Did he show up for that reservation? Who had reservations around there? Who else was on that floor? Everyone needs to be contact traced. And there needs to be, I go back to this communication piece. There needs to be over communication so that people are aware, so that they can quarantine for 14 days. I mean, the one thing we want to do is we want to stop the spread of, people getting sick, because it's a dangerous situation. And so this is a huge deal for making people aware and preventing from happening.
I'm guessing that air quality is also an issue that's helping, or something that would also help stop the spread, or HVAC systems, or ensuring proper airflow in a business. I mean, what role do you see that playing with companies as they reopen?
Yeah, I don't hear that talked about as much as things like contact tracing or physical distancing in the office, but I do see companies saying, hey, we're not going to use these conference rooms that are glass enclosed and you close the door and everyone sits in there for an hour or two. Like, we're going to make these conference rooms or these collaboration areas more out in the open. They are thinking about airflow. They are looking at their HVAC systems. But it's not as hot of a topic as contact tracing, physical distancing, health attestation, vaccination status tracing. So, a lot of these topics I hear more than I do, is our HVAC system purifying the air correctly? Or do I need to leave all these windows open so that the airflow is what it should be?
Even I'm thinking outside of the office when we're talking about new normals, it's a lot of it's mask wearing and social distancing. It's what we're being told. What does the new normal look like from the office, from that perspective, from the employee returning to work perspective?
Yeah, and obviously there's going to be a new normal. I mean, people will be wearing masks inside the workplace for a foreseeable future. The layout of the office is going to be different. The cafeteria might be closed. There might be more outdoor seating. There's just going to be a lot more attention to the workplace, and is it set up for safety? Are we set up to know what people are doing when they are in the office? Are we set up to really trace things like occupancy of certain areas, vacancy of other areas, utilization of space? And then, can we take that data and do something with it so that as time goes, as we evolve in that return to the workplace and we look at all this information, we can make decisions around real estate planning, around workplace planning, to ensure safety or to ensure that we're properly utilizing our facilities in this situation post-pandemic.